Welcome to another review from Cards and Cardboard. Today we have a guest, my good friend Colin. He's kind of my go-to Magic buddy here. I don't play Magic as much anymore, but if there was anyone that I know who does play a lot of Magic, it's this guy.
Play it decently well. I'm no standard whiz because that's just way too much money. We're in it for the casual and the drafts at pre-releases for the most part.
Yeah. The big thing I do these days is I play the draft, if at all. I kind of got out of the whole Magic thing. But today we're here to talk about a new game that just came out a bit ago in big box stores, and we'll be hitting some local friendly game stores soon. Magic: The Gathering, Arena of the Planeswalkers, a miniatures tactics game based on an older game actually called HeroEscape.
What we're going to do in this is we're going to do a little bit of a actual live playing where we'll actually play through a match. We're going to show you some of the mechanics and also show you the component quality and review the game as we're going through it. This isn't our first time playing it, but we will review it as if it is and go through a detailed rundown of what we think of the quality of the game, the materials, the packaging, and all the components therein.
We'll also go a little bit into some of the rules, some of the little subtle nuances that we like about it, stuff we might not like about it, and maybe talk about the future of the game a little bit too in its lifetime. We hope. Coming from a HeroEscape background, I know I played a bit of it, and I believe you have too.
I played a little, but never actually got any of the merchandise.
Yeah, a lot of people are kind of hoping this is a revival of that system. So we'll talk about a little bit about that too, but I highly encourage people to go back and look at some HeroEscape stuff. But also remember this is a completely new game, just with maybe some similar mechanics. So without any further ado, let's get into this box.
Alright, so start off, box, pretty decent box, nice size. One thing to note, this is only a $30 game, roughly.
Yes, that's a huge selling point. Based on the component quality and everything you get in this box, $30 is a huge price point for what you're getting.
Alright, now so do the unveiling. Normally when you open it up, there is going to be the standard evil taped circles of doom, one on each side.
Yeah.
We've already undone them. Alright, to take it off, it opens up.
And you have a lovely insert that holds all of the minis thus far in the game. You've got all your Planeswalkers over here, and then all the units that they summon over here.
One thing I would mention, maybe for if you're going to keep it in this box, one thing I did notice after we played, the figures are spot specific when you're putting them back in. So maybe getting like little sticky craft dots and putting them in the corner of where they're at, and then one on the bottom of the base so you can know where exactly they go. A little easier putting them away. Or you can just do the fun, okay, does it fit in this hole? Nope. Does it fit in this hole? Nope. And keep going.
Yeah. Hopefully, in the future, most people are just going to kind of put these all in one big box and carry it around, or maybe utilize the box without the inserts. So, seeing this just up front, it's a great presentation. It's got all your little bits mostly in this area. There's a few things underneath the insert itself. There's a little well to hold your cards, and also the little plastic terrain pieces that are individuals. Unlike HeroEscape, this is more based on having cardboard terrain to start with and then building more plastic. So maybe in the future we'll see a kit where they include just terrain.
Yes.
I know a lot of people that would buy that.
Another thing to note for anyone that has played HeroEscape, they look similar. They're the exact same thing. These are pretty much the exact same molds that they used for HeroEscape. They are completely compatible with all your old HeroEscape terrain that you already currently have.
Yeah.
One other thing you should note is you can actually see the armies. All the armies are here. There's nothing under. They're all pretty uniform in the amount of units. You have two of each color type of unit and three of each of them. That's pretty nice that they're pretty balanced. And game-wise, they're pretty balanced in the stats and things like that. We'll go over that a little bit more once we get further into the box.
Yeah, but they're still very diverse in their systems.
Yes.
So what you're going to do is you and up to maybe, say, 5 friends, I
Yeah.
think this can hold.
It can hold up to 5 currently.
In box.
Eventually, depending on how the expansions go, you could have a complete all-out war similar to what you were seeing in Heroescape.
That, or you can play multiple of these Planeswalkers with, 2v2, 3v3 hopefully in the future. But right now there's only 5 to choose from, so we're going to go under these
Alright,
inserts.
I'm gonna do this one real
And
quick.
we have a lot of stuff already loose in here.
And then another thing is, you see, the Planeswalkers are their own little thing, so you don't have to worry about them getting in the way.
So one of the first things that we get to is these double-sized cards. If you're going to wrap these, you're going to use about 2 sleeves of normal Magic sleeves to actually fit them in. Some people might just laminate them.
Size and half. So they're a little bit oversized.
Yeah, but the whole point is that these are your unit cards. These are how you construct your army and decide how many points they're worth per unit. Right now in the base game, everything is what they call unique. So you'll only see one of these squads out per Planeswalker. So if you're buying multiple sets, you're not going to get much advantage there to add in multiple people unless you're playing like mirror matches.
Yeah.
But these things are really extraordinary. They have some great artwork on the top of them, just like a Magic card. Then they have all the stats listed in there and all their special abilities right on the card. Now, if you're coming from Heroescape, they had those really bizarre, like...
Actually, they looked somewhat similar to the larger hexes that we have here, where in one it would have an image like it has here, another would have some stat details right here, and then it'd have special information for the card. So you'd have this in one, this right here would be in its own little thing, and this right here would be in its own little thing.
Yeah, it was kind of like a cogwheel.
Yeah.
It was the best way to put the design. It had its point values, points per unit, and the special abilities and all that stuff on there. It was a little mucky, but it was still easy enough to read, and this just kind of streamlined that system a bit more. And of course, on these cards, you'll also have the various artwork here, as well as the line of sight indicator and the size of the actual units, so that way you can separate them based on what you see.
Another thing to note while you're looking at it, like you said, line of sight, the way that they represent it, not sure if you could see it in the picture, is when you actually look at the little shaded image, the little dot is where they say is the line of sight. That really only comes into play depending on if you're trying to look around the ruins that they have in here. You're really not going to have much of an effect by the height in this currently, unless you have your own Heroescape Heroescape lands. Because at most you can get 4 high, and I think you barely cover a unit. We'll pop one out right here. Okay, 1 unit if you have it all the way up, but most people like spreading this out to give it a little bit more of a
rugged terrain
and difficulty, like right in the center. So this is about the only way that you wouldn't be able to know that something's past you.
Yeah, it also comes up for some weird, bizarre rules on like falling damage too.
Yeah. Nice thing on the card, all of them are the same for the layout, like we're saying. You'll have a hex that shows how much health each unit has. You have the top one right here is going to be your movement. You're going to have range if they have any. And then you have 2 down here. There's going to be a cross swords and a shield. Those are representative to their attack.
And defense.
The way that they work is the number tells you how many dice you roll. You roll the dice, you match the symbols for whatever you're doing. If you have more than your opponent, you either defend or damage them.
Yeah. A thing to note here that these are not like the old sticker dice from Heroescape. These are actually printed on white dice. Say what you will about component quality, printed still better than nothing.
Yeah.
But I know people that are probably going to want to find some place to do some engraved dice or find some other ways of dealing with the probabilities there. And actually, the old apps for Heroescape rolling still work as well, so that's a good plus there. Again, a lot of compatibility. It's really excellent.
And then, like they said, for component quality, all the Planeswalkers have nice clear bases, so it's at a glance you can see right where they're at. And they're actually the only figures currently that are more than just a solid color. I like the fact that the special units for each Planeswalker is just a solid color. I think it actually gives it a little bit more flavor of being able to see right where it's at. Does not mean that people aren't going to take these and paint them up themselves.
No, I'm actually debating that myself. I mean, for a game that has some pre-printed units, you know, that's definitely a big plus for the $30 value there, but I can understand why they wouldn't do it with all of them. Yeah. And especially since some of them have this interesting, like, clear coat to them.
Oh, yeah. So actually, really nice.
Yeah.
All the Planeswalkers, like, this is Liliana, the Dark Planeswalker. You actually have this nice little spout right here. I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to be.
Arcane Eldritch Energy.
Something. But it's actually more of a opaque see-through. Every single one of the Planeswalkers has some element of their figure in a translucent, clear color that kind of shows their magical energy that's coming from them.
So I'm going to get into these little spell cards that they have. The game comes with a complete 12-card deck for each of the Planeswalkers. So 12 times 5 is 60 cards, I believe, if my math is correct.
Yes.
So here's one of the interesting things. Not only do you get to choose which units go into your army for army building in the future, like by point value, but you're also going to have these 12 cards that are mandatory to have, and they cannot exceed a 200-point limit, is what I've been told. Right now, these are the only kind of non-unique thing in the game. Like, if you had multiple sets, these are like the only thing that you can actually use multiple copies of and kind of customize a bit more.
For a lot of people that play Magic, when you're actually looking at the cards, something that they did is when making this game, since it's with Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, what they wanted to do is they wanted to give it the feel, the look, and the joy of Magic. And once it came to playing the cards for like spells, they kind of came up with well, we wanted to have the spells in there because they're just part of what Magic is, but they needed to slightly alter them. But what you'll notice is the artwork is actual artwork from cards in the game. The one he's holding up right now, Overrun, that's Overrun, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Overrun. In Magic, it's
looks
either
like the trample
Overrun
card.
or I want to say it's Overwhelming Stampede is the name of the actual card. What's really nice about, and it has the exact same feel of what that card does. It gives them a buff to their attack. Yeah, you don't get the defense because when you're swinging, you're only caring about swinging in this game. But it also gives them that nice trample, which is that their damage carries over to something past them.
Yeah, in this case, it's actually damage to another unit, I believe.
Yeah, another unit that is close.
So,
one thing they have not introduced yet, when you're looking at the cards, is the two types of cards that they have is they have sorceries, which are like the Overrun right here, and then they have enchant auras. There is no basic enchants. There is no there's no instant card currently.
No, but you're allowed to play cards in advance that are kind of face down like a trap card. That will come up when somebody triggers them and you choose to activate it.
Yep.
But I mean, like, okay, when you start the game, you're going to get 3 of your cards, so that's already a 4 for your deck gone, and then every turn you're going to draw 1 card, and you can play...
At least, depending on who you're playing.
Yeah, you can have one... you can always play up to 3 cards per turn, so that's a nifty little nuance thing that kind of is in there, but I've seen, like, on the forums and stuff, a lot of people are wondering about this future deck building of this, because it's kind of the new thing to the Heroescape idea.
Now, in the rules, did it say that it was a hard limit of a maximum of 12?
It has to be 12 cards.
Or at least 12 cards.
I've looked in the rulebook and I saw 12 cards at under 200 points.
Okay.
And that's required. So, I'm pretty sure that's per Planeswalker. I'm guessing if you play maybe a 2v2 match, which we have yet to do, it might be an interesting variant where you're actually drawing from one single deck maybe, and getting multiple things, but that's
something we can try on a later date.
Yeah, it's a later game. Although I would highly recommend just keeping them separate.
Another thing for components that's actually a reoccurrence from Heroescape is you have what they're calling glyphs. There's 4 of them currently in the. We're gonna open this up.
Yeah, we're opening up a lot here. We've actually have 2 copies, and we've mostly played with it so far.
So, the glyphs, just like in Heroescape, if you've played it, you know what they are. If not, what these are nice little buffs that you can actually get while playing. While you're playing, these get put out onto the field. If one of your units is standing on it, as long as you have a unit on it, all of your units get the benefit. There's currently only 4, which is better attack,
better defense.
Yep. You can move faster, and then this is one I'm not quite sure what they switched it from, but this is a one-time use. This is the only one that they have. This is probably the only reason you'd want to have multiple starter sets is to get more of these knowledge glyphs. What's nice about these knowledge glyphs is you step on it, you flip it over, you see it's a knowledge glyph, you draw a card, you get rid of the glyph.
Yep.
So it's a one-time use glyph, but in a game where you can only have generally one draw per turn, and some of these spells are really nice in key situations, this is a big turning point, especially since the feel of most of these cards are pretty balanced, but are really strong.
Yeah, if you don't have cards, you're definitely at a disadvantage. But
Yes.
thankfully, you have cards all the time, especially if you start the game with them. So
For Chandra.
yeah, playing cards is definitely a key component of this game, and we're kind of really glad to see that because it does fit that Magic flavor.
Okay, so this is an unwrapped seal of the base game board, which both me and him actually feel this is a really good investment that they did to the game.
Yeah, back in the old Heroescape, you had very large terrain tiles, which were still made of that plastic. They were about the size of the tiles that they give you in this game. They were a little cumbersome, and I think actually may have been slightly smaller. But
Yeah, I think they were a little bit smaller.
the idea being that now, instead of having to assemble a bunch of terrain, you actually have these big platters, as I'm going to call them, because I know a similar game that has a Field of Magic the Gathering here that also uses that terminology for these types of boards, especially since they also have a bit of pretty artwork on the back of them.
Some people in other reviews I've seen, they were kind of a little, well, why didn't you put more of the terrain on the back? I kind of see why they did it, because one, the terrain can be put together in any fashion, and when you actually get to see the terrain on the other side, it's a pretty diverse assortment of what you have. So each one will have a little bit of water, and everything else will have and there's mostly normal flat land. Right now, there's only the 2 types of physical terrain. You have basic land, which is either going to be represented by this, or the nice tannish color, or you're going to go into the blues, which are water.
Yeah. So far, the only thing that really affects is movement of units. But other than that, back in the old Heroescape days, there was like lava and swamp terrain and other various ice, and it was so great. And we're hoping to see maybe some of those come back.
Definitely hope to see a couple of those come back, because a nice thing that they had is in Heroescape, if you had like lava terrain, there were special units that were actually similar to like this Firebird right here, that while it was on that terrain, it actually got a buff. So the terrain actually gave the game a little bit more of a feel of they're in their natural habitat and they're getting the benefit versus somebody coming into their home and attacking them.
Yeah, and here's the little 3D terrain that they include. It's not very pretty to look at, but considering the price point, it's what they had to do.
The stuff they had before was plastic cutout. Well, what was a plastic? On the base, it had kind of triangular shapes that would let it. I'm gonna kind of.
Well, they had like castles and trees and.
Yeah, they did have like castles and trees, and what it would do is in here it would fit in the groove. It would like fit on the groove, so you could kind of go sideways here and have a little bit more of a solid,
like a solid
base
wall,
for
yeah.
it. But again, this is the starter set. This is just to get you playing. So right now,
Yeah, you can always
giving you
throw on
something
your
like
own
this is
3D
fine.
terrain there. Anything that'll fit on the map you can use.
they give you this little itty bitty guy. What you're supposed to do is this is supposed to be a game per round.
Yeah, it's hard to
either
track.
30, 60 rounds, which a round is one person takes a turn, and that's a round. Next person takes a turn, and that's a round. So when we say 30, it means you're only taking 15 turns each.
Yeah.
This game,
It kind of needs it though. The
Yeah.
old Heroescape, you didn't really have many rules for like how many rounds you were playing, and this would lead to that problem where there was one unit left on the guy's field and you were chasing him down trying to kill him. But in this game, they highly kind of recommend that you do that. 30 turns, 60 turns. You have a turn limit set depending on how big the armies are. Obviously, the bigger your armies get in the future, probably the longer games you'll have.
another thing that's nice about this versus Heroescape is this has a definitive, this is my job. These units, all the units right here, in the grand scope of the game, mean absolutely nothing over these.
Well, yeah, that depends on game mode too.
Only one I've seen is the base one. Base game, the whole point is kill the Planeswalker.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what other units they have, they can have all their army out. You could have summoned none of your army out. And as long as you kill their Planeswalker first, that's all that matters.
Yep. Whereas other game modes are, try to get the most amount of points in a certain number of turns. And Planeswalkers are worth a point value in the game, and actually a significant one. So that's definitely understandable that they would have that as well as an option. So we've only gone over like everything in this box except for like maybe one thing, and that's tiny red cubes.
Tiny red cubes.
We're talking like these are like 3mm red see-through cubes.
I do like the fact that these are nice, clear, see-through cubes. They're almost the same opalescence as this guy right here. A little bit darker red, but still pretty see-through. What this is for, which can be upgraded to other parts, is units that have more than 1 health and don't just vanish after they're damaged. Oh, it has a point of damage on it.
Yeah, most units in this game have like 3 health, so a lot of these cubes is definitely a good thing. Although they feel like they're almost a little too small. But that's just a personal thing, big guys, big fingers, big hands. I was used to the Heroescape pucks that they had, which also could stack, which was a good nifty feature. These don't stack at all. You kind of have to pile them next to a unit. As far as your Planeswalker, you're going to put those just right on the card.
Yeah.
Because these things can kind of be a hassle, and they don't give you like little seal-up baggies in this game. No, they just give you a baggie that you're supposed to open, and then now they're everywhere.
Yes, that would have been a nice thing, is to have a
Sealable
little bit
bags,
of
yeah.
reseal. These bags are just nice heat seal right here. Really nice for keeping the components in, but once they're out, they're out.
There's going to be various ways to store this game in the future, of course, especially when we get more expansions. People are really going to ditch that insert. People are going to get like big boxes to put all their stuff in, just like they did Heroescape.
Yep.
Especially if they release more terrain, because
Yes.
that's the big selling point of this game, I feel. Okay, so I think we've gotten enough into what the components are. We're going to have a little video off to the side here of us actually playing. But right now we're going to take it into kind of some final thoughts. So our standard thing here, I'm not sure if I've explained it before.
real quick before we actually go into final thoughts,
Oh yeah, a rulebook.
the rulebook. Something that everyone likes reviewing. For basic rules, it is fine. It gives you all the basic information that you need, but like a good number of the games out there, there are some lapse in information. There's a couple of terms that are a little worded weirdly, and just the way that they play out, it'd be nice to have a hard copy of the actual way that they play out. An example actually comes on one of the units, and it's from the green units. The wording on trample. The way that it words is when attacking, if this unit would deal enough damage to destroy a figure, you may assign the rest of the damage to an adjacent to a figure adjacent to the defending figure. It doesn't describe what direction. So,
Well, I'm pretty sure you get to choose that one.
Well, yeah, but the thing is say that unit's here, it destroys one here. That means you can deal its damage to any of the other 5 spots around it.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I'm taking it. I'm not sure if they have
There's an FAQ
another
being built right
ruling.
now. But right now, since the game is still fairly new, there's going to be a bit of time in here where this game is going to be allowed to grow.
Oh, yeah.
Now, getting into that rulebook, I mean, it's worded fairly well, but there are things like the deck building, for example, that I have brought up before. So you've got, 12 cards, under 200 points. It doesn't say how many copies of the same card you can have. Doesn't put a limit on that, at least. So you could go in having maybe 12 cards of just the one card, as long as it was
another thing looking at those, most of these are ranging from 5 to 25. Oh, no, we got a 35 for point cost.
All right, well,
when you're looking at them, they're right here in the corner. It gives you the cost. I think that's actually something they might introduce in a later expansion when they give more cards.
Yeah.
Because right now, like we said, the decks, you only have 12 per color. So there's not really any variance or building.
We'll see that in the future, of course, hopefully. All right, so back into the final thoughts.
Yes.
Wow, we took a bit of a loop here. So we start off with our final thoughts, usually going bada bing, bada boom, right to the top components. For $30, the quality of these components, I feel, is a solid 8. I go off that because some pre-painted units, not exactly all pre-painted units.
Yeah.
The insert's nice, and the cardboard quality and the printed dice I can live with.
It's a nice start. Hopefully we can get better. Nice thing is the cardstock for the spells, pretty decent. It's a little on the flimsy side. If you're really going to be playing this a lot, maybe get sleeves.
Yeah.
But for casual play and people that kind of half-heartedly shuffle just to say that they're shuffled, because you play the cards, but they have a impact, but not as much as the actual units.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 12 of them in your deck. So
Yeah,
it's
kind of hard to shuffle 12.
I know a lot of people are going to complain about this cardboard, but it's good cardboard.
It's a time saver.
Yeah, when you
to
can
make
plop
the
down
bigger
a few of
maps, this is nice base level, and then you go from here. It's a really nice,
and it's going to store easier too. In the long run, that's the big thing. It's kind of one of those things that was great about HeroScape, but also was its big downfall there. Where would you give a number for component quality?
I'd probably match you about an 8.5 if they maybe do a release where they if they do upgrades a little later down the road.
I want to see engraved dice.
Engraved dice would be nice. Something a little bit better than these cubes.
Yeah. If you got any ideas, please comment below with
Yes.
some cool ideas for that. Especially if you know where to get engraved dice. I know they exist out there. Just tell me where to get them.
We're special ordered.
Yeah. All right. Artwork is another thing I usually hit. It's Magic the Gathering artwork.
Yeah. Haven't seen any of the artwork from Magic cards where you just kind of look at them and go, "Why did you hire them? That looks horrible." All the artwork is nice, crisp, clean. There's no blurring of like they took an image and blew it up some. It's really clean cut.
Really solid graphic design as well. Good font usage, of course.
Yeah.
The minis are top-notch sculpts. They look really,
Yes.
really sharp.
Or what we'll do is we'll actually
Oh
get
my
these
gosh,
a little bit closer
yeah.
for you.
Those
So
Planeswalkers are amazing.
this right here is the red one. This is Chandra for all that don't play Magic. Her units are the nice red, and the nice thing is when you look at them, you can actually see a nice color coding between red, blue, green, the white. As you see, they're nice and colored, and that clear, almost see-through color I was talking about.
Yeah.
For those, I would say overall a 9. They could have made it a 10 if they had a little bit more detail in the units.
Yeah, my big thing that I got on was these plates or platters. This is really good texturing on here. It's really solid artwork. When you look at the old Heroescape things, you got a lot of samey texture with the terrain, but this, there's a lot of fine details on these.
Yes.
Someone spent a lot of time working on this. And the water looks really clear, but the ground also has like little rocks and bumps in it that just look great. And it is flat, but it doesn't look that flat.
Yeah, it has a somewhat 3D look to it.
Yeah, my big thing is I hope for the future when they bring in more terrain tiles that they don't just do the flat color, because that was one of the big things about Heroescape back in the day was that a lot of them were like duo colored or tri-colored even.
Yeah. Yeah, I do hope that they get a little bit more into those. If not, again, modding can change these up.
Yeah, we can live without that. We can get our hands on Heroescape stuff still.
Or even just paint these things.
Yeah. I have to give artwork a solid 9. It's just too
Yes.
good for this price.
Yeah.
I keep bringing up that price, but you know, a lot of minis players will agree that like big games where you get a lot of minis usually cost a pretty penny.
Yes.
In this, you get 3 units per squad for 2 squads per person times 5.
So yeah, you're getting 30. You're getting 30 sculpted minis for the units,
Oh,
plus the 5 Planeswalkers. And another thing is, unlike each unit,
yeah, it's a different sculpt.
is
per
a different sculpt
unit.
per unit. So each squad has 3 distinctly different looking units.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that's gonna help them in the long run if you don't, find a way to differentiate them. The fact that they're all the same color is the only thing that I'm gonna kind of knock them on, because if they don't vary up those shapes, black humanoid A and black humanoid B, the zombies and the vampires, they could look kind of samey in the end, and you might mix them up. So
They could look samey.
You
At
might.
that same time, they might just do a different. With the vampires, most of them like having capes.
yeah,
So-
the idea is that they're gonna have to vary it up a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with humanoid figures.
Yes, that is definite.
Oh, all right. Mechanics is what I usually go into next.
All right, so
It's Heroescape. It's a solid system that they're coming from. They added some new features and took away some of the old ones. One of the big changes I like is the fact that you don't play with the multiple activations anymore, which it was a great system because you have this bluffing game. But on the other hand, when you got down to like a single unit, it really didn't matter.
yeah, Another thing is they actually did a melding of Magic and HeroScape. So they took all the mechanics that they really liked in HeroScape of moving the units, giving them speed, giving them range, and added attributes that you see in Magic, like Trample and Fly. You have people that will have First Strike and Double Strike, Unblockable. Actually, this unit right here,
those blue guys.
these blue guys have a nice thing where they can move and they aren't worried about if they're moving past somebody, if they're engaged with somebody and they move away.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about taking damage. That's why I said unblockable, because they can just run right through them.
I'm not really sure if that's.
It feels unblockable.
Yeah,
in a way.
Actually, what is that called for them? That is called Phantom Walk.
All right.
Yeah,
Island
it's
Walk
unblockable.
or something. Yeah.
It's unblockable.
So, that and being able to take over these little control points,
Those
or
are
if you're trying to
really good.
play like a game mode where like capture the flag, where you're having to stand on one of these and capture for points, is another one of those game modes in there. The mechanics come down to it are very solid. I have to give it an 8 though, because I want to see, as this game grows, and if the game grows, I want to see a lot more regulation on that 12 card deck, and particularly like seeing, okay, we got like a 500 point army that we start with. Maybe 12 cards is good for that, but maybe every 100 so points you go up, maybe you add another card or so. So that way you're kind of dealing with this scaling thing where you have like this huge squad-based army here, and you're coming with so many points.
200 point.
It's a 200 point card deck.
Roughly the way that it's 500 currently for the units, 200 for the deck. So as long as you keep, it's about 700. So about every 100 that you go up, probably about 50 is what you go up in the deck right here. But like I said, maybe in the further expansions when they give you more cards, they might do that.
Yeah, definitely put some limits on like how many copies of a card something can put in there. Back in old HeroScape, like these expendable glyphs were potions that would like recover health or give you buffs and stuff like that, and that's what those were kind of about. Giving you additional movements or actions that you could power on. So, and they kind of took those and just made them into the spell cards in here. I mean, that's why I give them a solid 8. So, I liked HeroScape. The combat system works. It's very easy to pick up. It's very easy to understand, and all the advanced rules that come later on don't take a lot to learn, such as oh, I moved on water, I have to come to a stop. Every time you enter a water space, you're supposed to come to a full stop.
Another one is elevation. Oh, like he said, if you go into water, you stop. If you're moving out, it costs you an extra movement to step up.
Yeah.
For terrain, it's pretty simple. How many terrain are you going up? Okay, add that to take that away from what you're moving. So going up 1 costs you 2. Jumping straight to here would cost you 3.
Yep. I mean, and then like falling damage and then adjacency rules. I mean, those are all.
I think they took away falling damage.
Actually, I read it. There is falling damage still.
Oh, interesting.
If you succeed the height of your unit from elevation going downward.
Well, again,
it's still only a single die roll though.
Yes, and unless you literally have it stacked all the way up.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do.
You're gonna be hard to do
what we
currently.
have now. But it's in there. They thought about this, so we're really hoping for that expansion.
Soon, hopefully.
So mechanics. What was your number?
Mechanics. Overall, I say it's a solid 10. Reason being is it's a solid system. They just moved it over to a new theme, and they integrated already set mechanics into it, I think, flawlessly. They give each one its upside, each one its downside, and for the game itself, I think it's very solid for the mechanics.
Yeah.
Yes, there are fiddly bits, but every game has them.
Yeah, like, alright, the biggest thing is that they streamlined it. That's the big sell point there. It's a game that you can pull out now that would maybe take an hour to set up and play for maybe a half hour. With all those tiles and stuff, depending on how intricate you want to do it, to a game that you can literally flop out of the table, put these 2 pieces of terrain in, put the glyphs down, get playing in maybe 10 minutes, and play the game in maybe a half hour to 45 minutes. Maybe longer if you're really debating.
And at that same point, you could also, like in the original, have a really quick one.
Yeah, I mean, you could go in there and then just kill her.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Again, the swingy nature of the game, but hey, that's what makes it great. You get to play multiple games now.
Oh, yes. Multiple games. So much quicker.
Getting into replayability, that's our next metric in there. There's a lot of variety in this game. I love variety in my games. But there's not enough yet to really capture me. Now going off my the BBG Board Game Geek scale, I'm going to give this about a 6 or 7, leaning more towards the 6 right now, because expansions are going to keep this game alive and keep it thriving. It's got the IP that's going to really bring in a lot of people into it. It's got the system that's going to bring a lot of older players back into it. This thing is like a maelstrom of success waiting to happen if these expansions come out.
Yes. I actually match them with that number. Currently, until they get more expansions, this is a really fun game, but these 12 decks, if your friend keeps playing the exact same color over and over again, you're going to kind of see and know what cards are in here. You'll memorize what ones have been played and which ones haven't, so you kind of know what's coming up. And the matches are kind of going to get a little stale. Nice thing that you can do is between each match, with these tiles, you can quick switch the terrain to give you a little bit of a different play area, but hopefully we get an expansion Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas would be nice.
Little bit after that. I don't think if they can get one out within the next 6 months, I think they might be in trouble.
Yeah. I would definitely have to say that there's also at least other game modes you can try out, like the capture the flag modes or killing just the Planeswalker mode. But again, stick with that turn limit because things will get a little out of control if you don't. Even if you're just setting an arbitrary amount of time to play, like a half hour or 2 hours, stick with that. Yeah, that would be a heck of a game, but I don't think we have enough content to get up to 2 hours yet. So
you could if you were playing if each person had 2 Planeswalkers.
Yeah. I mean, here I would usually throw in like a fun factor thing. There's plenty of fun factor in there, but that's kind of been eliminated from my written reviews. So we go right into the, hardcore final. If you had to put just a number based on the BBG, Board Game Geek scale of 1 to 10, 1 being utterly terrible and unplayable, 10 being you'll pull it out every time, no matter what. You'll introduce people to the game, and even if you're offered it at all, you're just down to play right now. Where would you be at?
8, really close to 9. In the future, I might raise it again to the expansions. Sorry, I keep harping on that, or we keep harping on that, but it is fun. It's gonna be a game I will love to play, but it will get old if we don't get more variety into it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, based on my library, I have to give it kind of a 7 to 8. Because I have a lot of things that feel similar to this to me. D&D Attack Wing and Summoner Wars, which is kind of the successor to Heroescape, many say. Again, expandability has really kept some of these games working for me very well. But I missed out on Heroescape growing up. I'll perfectly admit that. I had times where I played it, though.
Yes.
And it was amazing. I loved it. It just felt like, if you had the correct army, though, or, you chose all the dragons, you were going to win.
Yeah.
Again, balance is a big thing in there too.
Currently,
everything is at a very good balance.
Oh yeah.
And I like where it's at right now. But I'm hoping in the future we're going to see these, non-unique squads where you can start making hordes and hordes and hordes of these white weenies or zombies or whatever else they can throw at you.
Zombies I don't think need to be any stronger.
But then also things like heroes, like bigger heroic units, which are just individual units that you can summon up as well.
Yeah, the legendary units.
Not to mention more Planeswalkers.
Yes.
Because right now, the way the game is built, you got that whole... Your cards and your units have to be sharing a color with your Planeswalker.
Yes.
Now, from what I know of Magic, there's tons of these Planeswalkers, and they come in all sorts of colors.
At most, I think currently the highest you can get to is 3, and I can only think, off the top of my head, I can only think of one of them that actually has 3 colors.
Well, still, like, anything that even gives you 3 colors is going to be a great addition to the game. Because that's going to vary up how you build your thing.
Yep.
And we definitely want to see some good, army building limits in there too. Like maybe you can only have so many unique squads compared to common squads, or you can have only so many heroes compared to commons.
Yes.
That's the thing that really helped me out with another one of my games in my collection, Warhammer Disc Wars. That game, which I'll do a review on later, has some great balancing acts in there to keep things fresh and to keep you kind of building armies that feel unique, but also not too samey, and you can, still feel like it's a par match. It's your strategy that's going to win, not just your abilities that you chose and the fact that they have the biggest units compared to yours.
All right. Well.
So there's my finale. So that's our thoughts right now. We're going to go into a play video here.
Yes.
It's going to actually be up in that corner with the little eye icon. If you have any thoughts or anything, if you like our guest, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and all that good YouTuber stuff. This is one of my good gaming buddies, so I'm always willing to bring him on if you feel like his opinions really help the videos. So let us know. Thank you for watching our Cards and Cardboard review, and enjoy our little gameplay video.
Going into the gameplay video, we probably will do a setup with it so you can see how quick it is to set it up from scratch. So see you there.